to achieve it. This journey will take inspiration, constant motivation, proper supervision, and strong connections. At Camel Park Training College, we know what makes your dreams come true. Now, all we need to begin in this journey is you. Enroll today in a variety of courses. Choose Camel Park Training College.
Very good morning, wherever you are watching us from. This is Morning Bus and coming to you live from DCTV Africa, of course, coming live from our main studios. And being today, today being 10th of February 2026, of course, we are coming close to what normally they do say it's Valentine's. Actually, it will be happening this Saturday. But today, there's a lot that we have aligned for you, more especially the trending stories and, of course, what has happened and what is on the newspaper this morning. And as we kickstart our day, we are urging you to be following us on our social media platforms, that is in DZTV Africa, on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and X. You can find us there as in DZTV Africa, and as well as you can be able to talk to us via our SMS number, that is 21575. And of course, you can also send a message via the social media platforms, more so on Facebook and of course YouTube, where we can be able to be talking to you one-on-one, and of course sharing your comments, and of course reading them, giving the shout out to those who are following one-on-one from our main studios. And as we move on, there's a lot that have happened since yesterday, and of course the political arena, the responses from different political figures, and what has been happening within our counties. Of course, yesterday we saw the team of members of parliament from Nyamira County, actually all the 4 constituencies from Nyamira County. Yesterday they were on going around to check the development of the county, more so from the national government. The members of parliament include the Borabu members of parliament, Kitutu Masaba members of parliament, of course, West Mogrango, North Mogrango, and of course the Borabu area, and all those, they were working as a team to ensure that they are giving the common mwananchi what they have been seen to be working together to ensure that the development agenda is being done in the area, more so from the Kebonyoru area, where the Nyamira University is being or the construction is ongoing, and of course checking on the funds that were given out from Kuwait, a country, to ensure that some of the schools have been built in the area. So those and many of others are the stories that we'll be having a look at this morning. But before we get there, let's first of all have a look at the newspaper this morning. And of course from the start, we start off from the Standard newspaper, the Daily newspaper, Star, the People's Daily, Taifa Leo, and of course the Business Daily. My name is Jeff Nyakundi and my director is Lucas Uma, as we kickstart our morning show here, and of course have a look at the newspaper review this morning. And as we start from the Standard newspaper, it's what is being seen as the police officers taking it to their hands, and of course talking about the trained savages. And here is cruelty being felt at a time the family of a killed KMTC student is seeking answers. The police, in a statement, rather than give assurance, revealed that the corrosiveness with which it treats human life in an outrageous turn, it seemed to blame residents for the death, which points to a remorseless service unable to tame officers thirsty for the next drop of blood. Despite the valiant efforts made to turn the police force into a police service to align it with the requirements of the Bill of Rights in the Constitution, whose spirit is to save human life, and of course the behaviors therein have stuck in a gone by era. And of course there's a story published on page 2 and of course page 3 revealing or talking about the lady or the young girl, or of course a student of KMTC in Nairobi, who was shot death by the said the police officers, and there is nothing that has been done to ensure that they are giving assurance of what happened during that moment and what is going on more so in the investigation series in the county that is in Nairobi. And further, we can be able to see the picture of the two, of course, the police officers and of course the lady who was killed by a bullet in Nairobi. And thereafter, there's some quotes given or some statements given out there. And from that is George Musamali, who is the security analyst, and of course a senior lecturer security studies, John Omboto, and we are going to have a look at them. And of course here he says that human rights training is not a new concept, and it has existed as long as I can remember. During our time, the course was known as liberal studies. And the truth of the matter is that the training curriculum is good. The elephant in the room is the executive influence over police. And that's a statement from George Musamali, who is a security analyst. And of course, the other side, we're going to be able to see John Omboto, who is a senior lecturer, security studies at the University of Kenyatta University, is saying that the situation begs impunity, with officers contravening rights aware that nothing will happen to them. In most instances, there is no penalty against abuse of rights, and it is business and usual. And it's business as usual due to lack of accountability. That is John Omboto, who is a senior lecturer, security studies at the Kenyatta University. And of course, on the other side, it's the lady, Cheryl Dhiambo, who is 21 years old, who was killed, and of course, the KMTC student. And it's something that people have been complaining about. The opposition have been complaining about what we call of course different bodies in the country, more so the human rights activists have been complaining about, and there is nothing that have seen to be done. And of course, as John Omboto has just mentioned there from that quote, is that in the most instances here, there is no penalty against the abuse of human rights, and it is business as usual due to lack of accountability. Nobody is going to be held accountable. Nobody is going to be asked the questions, and it's something that will be treated as nothing happened. And of course, the families are on having hard times and trying to accept that their loved ones, they just left them, and not by being sick or got sick and taken to hospital, or the family did not manage to take them to hospital to be treated, but somebody brought down by the bullet. And that's something that it's very unfortunate. And of course, as we know, the investigations are ongoing, and at the end of it, maybe these things happen and nobody will be accountable, as John Omboto has just mentioned in that quote of his in the Standard newspaper. And that is a story that you can be able to find on page 2 and of course page 3 of this Standard newspaper. And when you have a look at it, then you can be able to read more of the stories in there. And other, of course, these are the adverts by the Standard newspaper talking about the Kenya pipeline, and of course what they are planning to do elsewhere. Let's have a look at the Daily Nation. And of course, the Daily Nation here this morning, it's having something that is related to the governors and of course the Senate Parliament. and what was seen to be defying the orders of the governors, of course, the orders of the Senate on what they mentioned to be the bribery scandals from some 4 senators that were mentioned by Muthomi Njoki. And of course, later on the trending stories, we are going to get the points or what exactly Muthomi Njoki was speaking yesterday when they had a presser on the issues that are affecting them whenever they are facing the parliamentary, that is the Senate parliamentary group, of explaining on how they have been using the money that has been sent to the counties via the national government. And here they're talking about governors defy Senate amid bribery scandals. And of course, it is a rogue accusation of lawmakers demanding bribes. Bribes have persisted and even forced the dissolution of committee in 2015. And here we are seeing some of the faces, of course, some of the members of, actually some of the governors from different counties. And here they are the one who missed the Senate invite on Monday. That was yesterday. And here we are seeing the 7th son of Nandi County, James Orengo, the governor of Siaya, Joshua Irungu, the governor of Laikipia County, Muthomi Njuki, governor of Tharaka Nithi, Cecily Mbarire, Embu, Irungu Kangata of Muranga, and Isa Timami of Lamu. And here they're saying that impunity. County bosses have resolved they won't appear before a Senate watchdog committee accusing its members of extortion and embarrassing them or to gain a political mileage. Their protests came as outrageous expenditures are exposed during the County Public Accounts Committee hearing on audit queries, which governors claim senators are exploiting to extort bribes. But senators have dismissed the accusations, arguing that the county chiefs have resorted to the smear campaign in an attempt to dodge accountability. They have vowed not to relent in the quest to stop looting of the public fund here. That's a story published on page 4, of course, and page 5. And from what we are seeing is that the county governors or the county chiefs here, they are trying to say that some of the members of the Senate, that is the County Public Accounts Committee, they try to request or ask for bribes, and if you don't give something, and then they extort or they make you look as somebody who doesn't know exactly what you are doing. And some of the on the same page, actually, we can be able to see the notorious for snubbing Senate. Those who have been not exactly attending the, not exactly appearing before the County Public Accounts Committee on the Senate for them to be heard on the audit queries. We have Abd Somad Nasir of Mombasa, Abdi Gui of Isiolo, Lati Lelelit, that is the governor for Samburu County. We have Fernandez Barras of Kakamega, Gideon Mungaro of Kilifi, and of course Paul Simbarati of Kisii County. And what we are seeing here is a scenario that is a prem game between the Senate and the governors, who is supposed to be asking the other questions, and of course what you're supposed to be responding to. And we have seen mostly some of the counties have not done nothing. Actually, they have done nothing at all with the money that they have been given, but being asked the questions, they say that they are being resorted to be accountable, they are being exploited by the senators. And of course, there's a story published on page 4 and of course page 5. Later on during when we'll be having a look at the trending stories, there is a statement that the president they gave yesterday, and of course Muthomi Njuki of Tharaka Nithi made a statement, and we'll be able to hear from what he mentioned categorically. On the other side, actually on page 3, we're going to be able to see the former member member of the former member of parliament, former Mwea member of parliament linked to car theft syndicate. And here is that the DCI, that is the director, the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, detectives have arrested former Mwea member of parliament Peter Gitau on that is suspicion of involvement in the theft of vehicles, including truck belonging to Murang'a County government. 2 lorries were recovered in Mombasa with fake registration numbers. Police officers said that's a story published on page 3. And of course, there is Peter Gitau, the former member of parliament from Mwea constituency, and to what is related to him as being involved in theft of cars, and this is including the truck belonging to Murang'a County government and the 2 lorries that were covered in Mombasa with fake registration numbers. That is a story published on page 3 of that is the Daily Nation. Elsewhere, on the top of this newspaper, that is the Daily Nation, there's a story published there. And of course, there is the pullout normally on inside of this Tuesday daily newspaper talking about Healthy Nation. And here, there is a lot that has been discussed, Martha's health, and maybe how patients get helped on what they face on whenever they are requesting or whenever they are in seeking for treatment. And that's something they're going to be able to look at the DN2, that is the Healthy Nation. Elsewhere, on page 2, 4 brothers die in a quarry that authorities refused to refill. That is a story published on how 4 brothers just died on the quarry bit, if I can just call it like that, that the authorities refused to refill. That after maybe they were taking the sand from it, later on it was supposed to be filled either for it not to be somewhere people cannot feel safe, but it has costed the life, or it has taken the life of 4 brothers. And of course there we are seeing the photos of them, and of course they're young boys there, and of course they died after maybe being of course into that quarry area that the authorities refused to refill. That is a story published on page 2 on the Daily Nation this morning. You can have a look at it. And of course the main story here talking about governors defy Senate amid bribery scandals, and it's a rogue accusation of lawmakers demanding bribes have persisted and even forced the dissolution of a committee in 2015. What happened in 2015? Maybe we might see it this year, 2026, if the things are going as they are now, or the things might be moving the way that we are seeing it. And of course, what these governors are saying that they are being extorted in the county public funds, that is whenever they are facing the committee for them to be responsible on what they were entrusted with and what they have done. And that is a story you can be able to read through on page 2, actually on page 4 and page 5, as I mentioned earlier on. Now let's have a look at that is the Star newspaper. The Star newspaper has an interesting story talking about the retreat that the 2 readers here are taking. That is a make or a break test for Kalonzo Rigathi in 2-day retreat. A team of experts to table formula the group will use to take on Ruto. And of course, this is a story published on page 4 and of course page 5 that Rigathi Gachagua and Kalonzo Musyoka, they are taking a 2-day retreat to have a look and to have formulas to be tabled on what they will use to ensure that they unseat the current president, that is William Samoei Ruto. And it's a story published on page 4 and page 5, and here they say that the team of experts to table the formula the group will use to take down, of course, to take on Ruto. And there we are seeing a photo of course, the former deputy president and, of course, the former vice president in one photo. That is, of both of them have served the Kenyan government in the to be the second in command. That is the deputy presidents. One was the vice president before the 2010 constitution, and the other one was the second deputy president of the country. That is after taking it from William Samoei Ruto, and of course later on he was thrown out via what was done as the impeachment. And elsewhere, that is a story that you're going to be able to have a look at on page 4 and of course page 5. Elsewhere on the same newspaper, there's a story published on page 2 and of course page 3, and where they're talking about survivor of HIV, cervical and colon cancer, Vivian's journey through 13 surgeries. And this is a story that is already published on the People's, actually the Star newspaper. It is the Star newspaper this morning. And of course, they're talking about the survivor of HIV, cervical and colon cancer, Vivian's journey through the 13 surgeries that she undergone or she took. There's a story published on page 2. And on page 3 is the progress derailed, FGM tourism failing, not ending the practice, talking about the female genital mutilation that has been seen to be affecting most of the young girls from different communities in the country. It's something that has been seen not to be ending the practice, and of course the progress has been derailed. And of course the story has been published on page 3 of the Star newspaper. And of course you can be able to grab that is to grab the newspaper and of course have a look at it and know why the progress has been derailed, and of course why is it not coming to an end. That's a story published on page 3. And also of course what we have talked about, issues of health, the survival of HIV, cervical and colon cancer, Vivian's journey through the 13 surgeries, a story published on page 2. And of course the main story here, talking about the two opposition chiefs, that is the former deputy president Rigathi Gachagua, and of course the former vice president Kalonzo Musyoka, and who is the party leader of Wiper, and of course the party leader for DCP. They are taking a two-day retreat to have a look at on the strategies to put a close to ensure that they unseat the current president. And from the photo we are seeing is the DCP leader Rigathi Gachagua and Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka in Sikulu. That was in May 2025. That's a footage from that time. And of course, those are some of the stories published on a page on the Star newspaper. Maybe let's have a look at the actually on the top of this newspaper what has been published there. And of course, there we are seeing the of course, another news is that jobs and salary scandals persists in counties as wage bill out of control. That's the audit report published on page 6. And the control of budget, Margaret Nyakango, issuing, of course, red alerts to what is happening on the counties, talking about the jobs and salary scandals. They are still persisting. It's something that is ongoing in the counties where the wage bills have grown so much, and of course they are out of control. And that is the audit report table there on page 6, and you can be able to have a look at it and of course know why some of the counties their wage bills is going up and again, and of course, and why the jobs and salary scandals are on persisting on the counties. And elsewhere is that of course talking about inside, that is the pullout, talking about my government, that is pullout, where tenders and jobs opportunities that are advertised on my government pullout. That is you find it on the Star newspaper. Elsewhere on page 9, it's something that has been seen to be the disorder behind the files inside Kenya's broken system for police accountability. How now the police officers are not taking accountable on what they do, and what they have been termed, or the writer here has termed, is to be the broken system for police accountability. And behind the files, and of course inside Kenya's broken system for police accountability, there's talking about the laws enforced. That is a story published on page 9 of the Star newspaper. And those are some of the stories published on the Star newspaper. Let's have a look at the People's Daily. And of course, the People's Daily still has some interesting stories, more so on politics. And here they're asking, unseating an incumbent, will these camps make Ruto a one-term president? It's a question. Will this, of course, the united opposition make Ruto a one-term president? It's a question, and that's a story published of that is actually published on page 4 of the People's Daily. And here we are seeing the faces of the said opposition leaders from Rigathi Gachagua, who is the party leader for DCP, Kalonzo Musyoka, the party leader Wiper, Fred Okengo Matiang'i, the deputy party leader for Jubilee. We are seeing George Natembeya. And of course, we can be able to see the ODM rebels. There we are having James Orengo of Siaya County. We are having Edwin Sifuna, the senator for Nairobi. And of course, Babu Wino, member of parliament of Embakasi. And of course, Caleb Hamisi. Those are some of the figures that have been seen to be singing the opposition songs. That is from the broad-based government, from the ODM party, the faction. Of course, yesterday we were talking about what we are seeing is happening in this area, more so in the current party of ODM, where we have seen the Secretary General Sifuna and other members of the party, including James Orengo, the senior counsel, Babu Wino, and of course Caleb Hamisi, singing the different song from what the party leader, that is Oburu Odinga, is singing along with the broad-based government and of course the Kenyan Kwanza government. And of course the opposition chiefs here, we can be able to see 4 of them. And actually, one of them is the governor for Trans Nzoia, that is George Natembeya. Fred Okengo Matiang'i, who is Dr. Fred Okengo Matiang'i, the former Interior Cabinet Secretary in the regime of Uhuru Kenyatta. And of course, Kalonzo Musyoka, who is the party leader for Wiper, and Rigathi Gachagua, the former deputy president of the Republic of Kenya, and of course the party leader of DCP. Now the question is, will they make Ruto a one-term president? That's the question, and that is a story published on page 4 of the People's Daily. Elsewhere, on top of this newspaper, actually there is a story published there on page 5 and of course page 7, talking about on page 5, first of all, talking about governors accuse 4 senators of extortion, boycott hearings in power standoff. Of course, there are 4 senators that have been mentioned or that have been accused of extortion, and sometimes it has been mentioned, of course, what I've been trending since yesterday, talking about that these senators, they demand 500,000, or that's $500,000 million from each governor who appears before their committee to be heard on the expenditures of the county and of course how they have spent their money. And now they have decided to boycott to go to the Senate hearing in power standoff until the matter is resolved. That is a story published on page 5. Elsewhere, on page 7, it is a story that we have seen most of or some of the Kenyan citizens that have been silenced in the war between Russia and Ukraine. And here they're saying that why the government is silent on citizens killed in the Ukraine war. And it may be some answers that have been given here on page 7, talking about why the government, referring to the government of Kenya, is silent on citizens killed in the war, that is in the Ukraine war, that is the Ukraine and Russia. And that is a story published on page 7, and those are some of the stories being the headlines of the People's Daily newspaper this morning, that is February 10th, that is Tuesday. And of course the main story here that has been given, the headline is the unseating unseating an incumbent, that is, will the camps make Ruto a one-term president? That is the faction of part of the ODM, that is Linda Mwananchi Brigade, and of course the United Opposition Brigade. Will they unseat President Ruto? That's a story you can read on page 4. Elsewhere, let's have a look at Taifa Leo, what has been published on Taifa Leo, talking about politics. Of course, where some politicians just take off the, of course, being champi from one party to another. Here, mwandishi anasema kwamba siasa za kurukaruka zarejea. Wanasiasa wameanza kuruka vyama vile ambavyo wanasema kwamba vyama vilivyo wadhamini mwaka 2022 wakijihusisha au kujiunga na vyama vya upinzani. Haya, baadhi ya wale ambao wanaonekana kufanya hivyo ni siasa za kurukaruka za rejea, ikiwa kwamba ni chama ambalo linaonekana kwamba ni haramu haswa kisheria, kwamba unapoondoka katika chama kile ambacho kilikuwezesha wewe uweze kupigiwa kura, uwe mbunge, uwe mwakilishi wadi, uwe gavana, uwe seneta, ikiwa kwamba unataka kuondoka chamani, basi unapaswa kuandika barua na ya kujitoa katika chama hicho, kisha baadaye uchaguzi mdogo unaandaliwa. Ukishinda ni sawa, ukishindwa basi mambo huwa hivyo hivyo. Ni kwamba hatua ya wanasiasa waliochaguliwa kuvitema vyama vilivyo wadhamini ni kinyume cha sheria ya vyama vya kisiasa inayowataka wanaohamia au kujihusisha na vyama tofauti wajiuzulu katika nyadhifa zao ili watafute kura upya kwa vyama hivyo vipya wanavyohamia. Ni taarifa ambazo zimechapishwa katika ukurasa wa pili. Na pale kwanza tunamuona naibu gavana Aibu Savula pale, ambaye anaonekana kwamba anahamia ama ameruka kuelekea chama kile cha UDA. Na pale tunamuona mbunge maalum Sabina Chege. Tunaye mwenyekiti wa pale ni mwenyekiti ambaye ni wa Judicial Service Commission Isaac Ruto. Seneta wa Nyandarua John Medhu, ambaye aliteuliwa na chama kupitia chama cha UDA pale, mbunge wa Yala Kanini Kega, na bila shaka pale tunamuona Benjamin Githaru Embakasi Central, ambaye ni mbunge wa Embakasi Central, Kakai Bisau mbunge wa Kiminini, mbunge wa Nyali Mohamed Ali, seneta wa Muranga Joe Nyuthu, na bila shaka James Gakuya ambaye ni mbunge wa Embakasi North pale. Ni baadhi tu ya wale wabunge ambao wanaonekana kuruka vyama kutoka vyama vile ambao viliwawezesha waingie bungeni ama waingie katika mabunge yote, bunge la kitaifa na bunge la seneti, na bila shaka county wale ambao waliteuliwa kama gavana na naibu wake pale, wanapoonekana kwamba wanarukaruka katika vyama, na kila ambacho sheria ama sheria ya vyama hairuhusu hawa wanachama kurukaruka hivyo, basi inapaswa wao wajiuzulu na kusimama ama kuwania tena viti hivyo vyao kupitia vyama vipya vile ambavyo wanaelekea. Tukirejea, kabla tujaangalia yale ambayo yapo katika spoti hapa kidogo, vidokezo zaidi ni kwamba IPOA yaanza kuchunguza mauaji ya huruma. Ripoti za awali zilieleza msichana aliuawa na risasi ya polisi. Taarifa ambazo zimechapishwa katika ukurasa wa 3, na bila shaka ukurasa wa ngapi pale, ukurasa wa 3 pia ni majonzi. Wane wa familia moja wakifa katika timbo. Watoto hao waliangamia timboni mwa maji mmoja baada ya mwingine, wakati ama katika timbo ile ambalo linasemekana kuachwa wazi licha ya kutakiwa kufunikwa baada ya kutumika pale. Taarifa ambazo zimechapishwa katika ukurasa wa 3 katika gazeti hili la Taifa Leo. Na tukiangazia yale ambayo yemo ukurasa wa juu, kabla tujaangazia masuala ya sport kidogo pale, kila ambacho kimechapishwa katika upande wa juu wa gazeti hili la Taifa Leo ni kwamba serikali yatoa bilioni 4 kuokoa waathiriwa wa Ukraine. Pale ni taarifa ambazo zimechapishwa katika ukurasa wa 2, wakisema kwamba serikali yatoa shilingi bilioni 4 kuokoa waathiriwa wa ukame, ni waathiriwa wa ukame huku nchini Kenya. Kaunti 10 hasa za kaskazini mashariki satajwa kuwa hatari zaidi, na katika picha zile ambazo tumekuwa tukiziona katika mitandao vile ambavyo mambo yanaelekea ama yanaendelea katika eneo lile la kaskazini mashariki mwa Kenya, basi ni kwamba serikali imepanga kutoa shilingi bilioni 4 kujaribu kuwasaidia wale ambao wameathiriwa zaidi na ukame, hasa eneo lile la kaskazini mashariki mwa Kenya. Na kwingineko, ukurasa wa pili ni kwamba Ruto ashtakiwa kuandaa hafla za UDA Ikulu. Wakili Sonyinga asema ni kinyume cha katiba kutumia taasisi ya umma kwa mikutano ya kisiasa, ikiwa kwamba ni lawama zile ambazo zinaendelea kumuandama rais wa nchi ya Kenya William Samoei Ruto kwa kile ambacho alikifanya, kwamba aliandaa mkutano wa kisiasa katika ikulu ya Nairobi pale, na Soyinka ashaelekea mahakamani na kumshtaki rais William Samoei Ruto kwa kile ambacho anataja kwamba alienda kinyume cha katiba kutumia taasisi ya umma kwa mikutano ya kisiasa. Basi taarifa ambazo zimechapishwa katika ukurasa wa 4 ukurasa wa pili. Na tukirejea upande wa chini kabisa tuweze kuangazia spoti, ikiwa kwamba ni mwanaspoti, ikiwa ni pull out ambayo huwa inachapishwa katika gazeti la Taifa Leo kila siku ya Jumanne, na kile ambacho kinaangaziwa hapa kuanzia ukurasa wa 13 hadi ukurasa wa 20 ni masuala ya spoti. Na hapa wanasema hivi: Arsenali tunawacheki, Pep atishia. Kwa habari hizi na nyinginezo kemkem, soma jarida lako pendwa la Mwanaspoti. Pale ni yule Pep Guardiola ambaye ni wa timu ile ya Manchester City, akisema kwamba Arsenali tunawacheki, lakini nasi tunasema kwamba hata mkitucheki bado sisi hatukubali kuchekiwa, kwa sababu tunalo kila ambacho tunaangazia na kila ambacho tunakitaka pale katika EPL, na tutaachilia hivi tutasidi kungangana tu pale. Nadhani kwamba yule kijana ambaye ni wa top shota akisikia sauti hiyo anaingiwa na kiwewe hapa na pale, kushindwa ni kipi kile ambacho akifanye. Lakini tunapoendelea mbele ni baadhi tu ya taarifa ambazo zimechapishwa katika gazeti hili la Taifa Leo, na tukizidi kusonga mbele tupate kuangazia gazeti lile la mwisho kabisa, gazeti la The Business Daily. And the Business Daily, there is some stories here published, and of course from what we are seeing is that Google rejects the 61% of Kenya censorship asks. Of course, the CA asked the tech firm to take down 42 videos postings, and of course the state site what we call of course the state cited national security defamation for removal. And of course the story that was published here by Vincent Owino talking about the privacy, they're taking that the tech giant Google rejected 61.9% of the requests from the Kenyan government to remove content such as YouTube videos and search listing amid a surge in takedown demands, underscoring growing friction between the state and the global technology firm. And of course Google declined 26 of the 42 items it received from Kenya, citing national security, defamation, and of course hate speech in the 6 months of June. Actually 6 months to June. And of course the requests are contained in Google's Global Transparency Report, that is the biannual publication. That is the biannual publication. The search giant started amid a pledge to for better protection of online privacy. And of course there is a story published on page 2 talking about the privacy, and of course what the Kenyan government had requested that is Google to do, and it declined to do that. And of course that is a story published on page 2 of this Business Daily newspaper. On other stories, that is actually on the lower side of it, talking about investment, the Nairobi Security Exchange starts buying and selling of shares, buying and sharing of shares directly via M-Pesa. And here they're talking about the top stockbrokers have been blocked or has been locked out of mobile trading platform that will from today allow investors to buy and sell shares directly from M-Pesa. Safaricom has tapped Kestel Capitals as the sole broker to process traders on the mobile money transfer services in a shift from the decades-old tradition of relying on stockbrokers for buying and selling equities. And of course, Kestel was ranked 11th among the Kenyan's 22 stockbrokers based on the brokerage commission earned by the market intermediaries in the 6 months to June. The move is intended to replicate the success in the bond market, where in 2017 investors were allowed to buy and sell bonds over mobile phones in WorldFirst. And of course, the top broker are keen to be part of the M-Pesa shift known as CD traders in the hope of generating extra commission from the expected rise to retail investors. And of course, under the scheme, which President William Samoei Ruto is expected to launch today, today on 10th, anyone with the mobile phone will buy shares through the M-Pesa app, that is with the Kestel Capital embedded in the background. And for years, investors were required to open a central depository system, that is the DCS, account with the stake broker, and of course only use M-Pesa for payments. And of course that is a story that has been published on page 2, talking about the start of buying and selling of shares directly via M-Pesa, and it's something that we are expecting the president to be launching it today. And of course, Safaricom has launched it. Of course, it has allowed that to happen using the M-Pesa app and through the CD in, of course, what they call as a CD trader, of course, which is going to give more or anybody with a phone and of course maybe a smartphone, and can be able to trade and of course buy and sell shares through this company that has been given that work to do, of course, to be overseen by the Kestel Capital to be the sole broker on that. Of course, elsewhere, let's have a look at the other stories, and of course on the ticker side. And of course, having a look at on the ticker side some of the stories that has been published here, talking about Kibaki Uhuru era, loan funds falter as Hustler Nyota rise. Loan disbursement under the Affirmative Action Fund established during the administrations of Mwai Kibaki and Uhuru Kenyatta have fallen significantly, highlighting a shift by the Kenya Kwanza government to the new digitally driven credit program, such as the Hustler Fund and the Nyota project, a story that has been published on page 5, talking about the economy and of course what has been happening before and in different regimes. That is, when talk about the Mwai Kibaki regime and the Uhuru Kenyatta regime, they had what they called of course the loans that were being given there before of course the introduction of the Hustler Fund, of course, and of course the Nyota project. And before then, the Mwai Kibaki and Uhuru, they used to give out loan disbursement by Affirmative Action Fund, and of course now that's something that has been seen to be falling apart, and now we are having the Hustler Fund and of course the Nyota project, something that has been seen to be done digitally. Elsewhere, the Nedbank commits to retain all existing NCBA employees. Nedbank Group of South Africa has promised to keep all NCBA group employees in place once it completes its proposed takeover of the bank. And of course, the commitment was a key consideration of the NCBA board when it recommended the transaction to shareholders. And that's a story published on page 6 of this Business Daily, talking about that the Nedbank from South Africa that is taking over NCBA Bank, saying that they will be able to retain or to take care of the employees of the NCBA when they will be done with the signings of taking over the NCBA Bank. Elsewhere, bank calls for CBK rates pause amid loan pricing changes. Of course, the commercial bank want the Central Bank of Kenya to leave its benchmark rate unchanged so as not to interfere with the ongoing repricing of loans amid transition to the new risk-based framework. That's a story published on page 14 of the Business Daily. On the top of this Business Daily newspaper, actually it is the exchange rate. That is what we saw on last week Friday, and of course yesterday, and it has remained to be 129.02, and it has remained the same. That is the exchange of shilling to USD dollars. And of course on page 9 there is a story published by Generoso Mundi talking about the privatization that provides a mechanism for citizens to acquire stakes in state-owned enterprises, and of course strengthening the companies. That is a story published on page 9 of the Business Daily. And elsewhere, lastly, on page 19, talking about life, they're talking about can you claim your spouse's share of pension after divorce? It's a question talking about life. And maybe it's something, maybe it requires more discussion and more talks to ensure that people give genuine or give it their thoughts. And here the question is, can you claim your spouse's share of pension after divorce? Whenever you have decided to work towards maybe a man and a husband, that's a woman, that's a wife and a husband, they are no longer living together, and they want each and every person to do his or her own things, and through the official divorce, would you demand or would you claim to your spouse's share of pension after divorce? That is a story published on page 19, and of course you can have a look at it. And here the main story was Google rejects 61% of the Kenyans censorship asks, and of course the Communication Authority, that is the CA, asked Tech Firm to take down 42 videos postings, and of course the state cited that the national security, defamation for removal, and something that has been rejected and not allowed at all. And those are some of the stories that have been published on the Business Daily. And from what we have seen, that is from the Standard newspaper, we saw that they're talking about Trent Savage, where a 21-year-old KMTC student was shot. And of course, Daily Nation, we saw the governors defying a Senate amid bribery scandals. Of course, terming that some of the senators, and of course they have mentioned 4 senators who have been suspected to be extorting the governors, and of course asking bribes. And elsewhere, we saw from the Star newspaper that the opposition chiefs, that is Kalonzo Musyoka and Rigathi Gachagua, they're taking a 2-day retreat as their team is stapling a formula that the group will use to unseat President Ruto. And elsewhere, People's Daily, we saw that will the camps make Ruto a one-term president, talking about the united opposition, of course, the likes of Rigathi Gachagua, Kalonzo Musyoka, Dr. Fred Okengo Matiang'i, and of course George Natembeya. And elsewhere, the faction of ODM, that is James Orengo, Edwin Sifuna Babu Wino, and Caleb Hamisi, would they form a team to unseat the president? That is the question that is answered, of course, asked on the People's Daily. And of course, Taifa Leo was talking about siasa za kurukaruka za rejea pale wanasiasa ambao wameanza kuruka vyama vilivyowadhamini mwaka 2022 kujihusisha au kujiunga na vyama upinzani, na pale kuna baadhi tu ya wabunge ambao wametajwa, wengi tu pale, akiwemo Sabina Chege, naibu gavana Ayubu Savula, mwenyekiti wa of course Judicial Service Commission Isaac Ruto, Senator wa Nyandarua John Methu, mbunge wa Iyala Kanini Kega James Gakuya, Senator wa Murang'a Joy Nyutu, mbunge wa Nyali Mohamed Ali, and of course Kakai Bisau, mbunge wa Kiminini, and of course not forgetting Embakasi Central, Benjamin Gathiru. And those are some of the stories published on the daily newspapers for today. That is the Standard, the Daily Nation, the Star, People's Daily, is Taifa Leo, and of course the Business Daily. And of course, up to that extent, we are taking a quick break. And once we will be back, we'll be talking about the trending stories. And of course, from the trending stories, there is a lot that have been aligned for you. And in that, we'll be able to know exactly what is all going on in our country, and not forgetting what has been going on from different areas of our region. And don't go too far. My name is Jeff Nyakundi, and of course this is the Morning Bus, and of course we are done with the newspaper review. Next is we'll be having a look at the trending stories, and thereafter maybe we'll be having some look at the sports on what happened. And of course, as we call it a day, don't go too far. I'll be back in a few. Ensure that you follow us on our social media platforms. That is Ndizi TV Africa on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and of course X as Ndizi TV Africa. Don't go too far. I'll be back in a few minutes.
Je, wewe ni mmiliki wa aina ya gari aina ya Alto, Probox, Harrier, V8 na Lexus? Jipatie brake pads kwa bei nafuu hivi sasa. Vilevile oil filters kwa gari aina ya Toyota na vilevile Subaru. Ili upokee popote ulipo, piga simu kupitia nambari 0739318606. Mteja mpendwa, ni wakati sasa wa kujinyakulia aina ya flash disk kuanzia 8GB, 16GB na vilevile 32GB. Vilevile earphones, wireless headsets, unajipatia wireless microphones tofauti kwa bei nafuu. Yale ambayo unafaa kuyafanya hivi sasa ni kwamba unapiga simu kupitia nambari 0739318606. Yote unayapata kwa bei nafuu popote ulipo.
Inside each one of us, there is a dream. The challenge is how to achieve it. This journey will take inspiration, constant motivation, proper supervision, and strong connections. At Camel Park Training College, we know what makes your dreams come true. Now, all we need to begin in this journey is you. Enroll today in a variety of courses. Choose Camel Park Training College.
Naam, ni wakati wa kusikiza sauti inayobeba maono, busara na hali halisi ya kisiasa humu nchini. Karibu katika kipindi Sauti ya Uongozi. Hapa tutakuwa tunazungumza na viongozi kujieleza katika hali halisi ya yale ambayo waliahidi kuyafanya, na bila shaka kukupa wewe mtazamaji nafasi ya kuzungumza kama mwananchi wa kawaida kwa yale ambayo waliahidi kuyafanya katika maendeleo humu nchini.
But after making the payment, they delete it. Now, what kind of accounting is that? Because you are supposed to maintain the details of whoever you paid, so that the figures can balance.
Watu ambao wanafanyiwa sio kwamba ni wale wananchi wote ambao wako pale wanafanyiwa ile funding, ni makundi haswa. Na zile pesa kufika katika makundi ikamfikia mwananchi yule ambaye alikuwa anachangiwa akapata kiasi kidogo cha pesa. Ina maana kule kuzurula, ule msururu wa kuzunguka inakuwa ni kama ni null and void kwa mwananchi, anaiona kwamba analagaiwa.
If you graduated in 2016 and somebody graduated in 2020, the 2016 was to be given priority to get that job. But nowadays, members of parliament have taken over. They get the letters, they dish them in funerals, others they sell them to the highest bidder.
Kila wiki tutakuletea mahojiano ya kina na viongozi kutoka sekta mbalimbali na jamii kwa ujumla. Je, unajiuliza maswali ni kipi ambacho kinajiri nyuma ya pasia la uongozi? Basi hapa ndipo unapaswa kukaa mkao wa kutazama na kusikiza. Usikose Sauti ya Uongozi kila siku ya Jumamosi kuanzia saa 1 jioni hadi saa 3 jioni. Ndani ya Ndizi TV Africa, nami Jeff Nyakundi. Sauti ya Uongozi. Tunazungumza, tunajenga, tunabadilika.
Black Market Records.
What's up my good people, it's your guy Aleka Alex. Na nitakuwa nikiwaletea show moto, show fire, show konki, show mambo bad ndani ya rininga yako number 1 Ndizi TV Africa. Tune in every Monday to Friday as from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Usikose, hii nayo itakuwa kari.
Steer your future in the right direction. Safe driving starts here. Camel Park Driving School, now ready to quench your driving thirst. We offer NTSA certified driving lessons for upgrading, beginners, and refreshers. Our team of qualified instructors deliver content for the following classes: A1, A2, B1, B2, C, C1 and C2, D1 and the rest. We train learners with modern vehicles which fit the evolving digital world. Why choose Camel Park Driving School? We are situated within a serene environment which offers a humble space of study. Our classes are fitted with advanced materials which supports learning. Other benefits are flexible class schedule, pocket-friendly fees, proper theory and practical guide, annual operation and additional computer packages training. Spend less, learn more. Drive forever. Apply now. For more information, call us on or SMS us on 0755 386 594 or 0753 915 354, or you can email us on camelcollege@gmail.com, or also you can visit our offices at Kiogoro, which is 5 kilometers from Kisii town along Kisii-Kilgoris Road. Camel Park Driving School, shaping dreams on the wheels. Je, wewe ni mmiliki wa aina ya gari aina ya Alto, Probox, Harrier, V8 na Lexus? Jipatie brake pads kwa bei nafuu hivi sasa. Vilevile oil filters kwa gari aina ya Toyota na vilevile Subaru. Ili upokee popote ulipo, piga simu kupitia nambari 0739318606. Mteja mpendwa, ni wakati sasa wa kujinyakulia aina ya flash disk kuanzia 8GB, 16GB na vilevile 32GB. Vilevile earphones, wireless headsets, unajipatia wireless microphones tofauti kwa bei nafuu. Yale ambayo unafaa kuyafanya hivi sasa ni kwamba unapiga simu kupitia nambari 0739318606. Yote unayapata kwa bei nafuu popote ulipo.
Inside each one of us, there is a dream. The challenge is how to achieve it. This journey will take inspiration, constant motivation, proper supervision, and strong connections. At Camel Park Training College, we know what makes your dreams come true. Now, all we need to begin in this journey is you. Enroll today in a variety of courses. Choose Camel Park Training College.
Naam, ni wakati wa kusikiza sauti inayobeba maono, busara na hali halisi ya kisiasa humu nchini. Karibu katika kipindi Sauti ya Uongozi. Hapa tutakuwa tunazungumza na viongozi kujieleza katika hali halisi ya yale ambayo waliahidi kuyafanya, na bila shaka kukupa wewe mtazamaji nafasi ya kuzungumza kama mwananchi wa kawaida kwa yale ambayo waliahidi kuyafanya katika maendeleo humu nchini.
But after making the payment, they delete it. Now, what kind of accounting is that? Because you are supposed to maintain the details of whoever you paid, so that the figures can balance.
Watu ambao wanafanyiwa sio kwamba ni wale wananchi wote ambao wako pale wanafanyiwa ile funding. Ni makundi haswa. Na zile pesa kupika katika makundi ikamfikia mwananchi yule ambaye alikuwa anachangiwa akapata kiasi kidogo cha pesa. Ina maana ule kuzurula, ule msururu wa kuzunguka inakuwa ni kama ni null and void kwa mwananchi, anaiona kwamba analagaiwa.
If you graduated in 2016 and somebody graduated in 2020, the 2016 was to be given priority to get that job. But nowadays, members of parliament have taken over. They get the letters, they dish them in funerals, others they sell them to the highest bidder.
Kila wiki tutakuletea mahojiano ya kina na viongozi kutoka sekta mbalimbali na jamii kwa ujumla. Je, unajiuliza maswali ni kipi ambacho kinajiri nyuma ya pazia la uongozi? Basi hapa ndipo unapaswa kukaa mkao wa kutazama na kusikiza. Usikose Sauti ya Uongozi kila siku ya Jumamosi kuanzia saa 1 jioni hadi saa 3 jioni ndani ya Ndizi TV Africa, nami Jeff Nyakundi. Sauti ya Uongozi. Tunazungumza, tunajenga, tunabadilika. Welcome again as we continue to inform you what's going on and what has been trending on our social media platforms and of course from our regions. And it is 28 minutes past 8 a.m. Here East African time, of course, as we come live from DZTV Africa. And of course, we start our trending stories from Migori County, and where the Suna West Member of Parliament, Honorable Peter Masara, of course, reaffirmed his commitment to strengthening the security in Migori County following the public concerns over rising cases of insecurity in Migori town and its environments. His remarks came just days after a police operation in Oruba led to the recovery of stolen property and the arrest of 2 suspects. Speaking on Saturday, Honorable Peter Masala, who worshipped at the Migori West SDA Church, the Member of Parliament acknowledged the non-functional of streetlights and organized criminal activities that have contributed to insecurity, particularly at night. He commended the ongoing police patrols and announced plans to seek additional police vehicles. Let's have a look on what he mentioned on Saturday.
Requesting the community to at least stop coming out after 9, because these people are usually very, very active after 9. Most of street lights in Migori are not functional. Therefore, it gives advantage to criminals to terrorize the community. There is patrol every evening. Both Kenya Police and Administration Police and the youths identified and screened by the security committee. We will help them to patrol the area. Many boys who are terrorizing people around town are not residents of town. Some have been imported. They have an organized means which these young criminals cannot do. Like today, at 4, the police patrol until 4. Then at 4:30, these people are breaking into Oruba Keyo Primary School, and they've stolen printers and computers. That means it's not just ordinary. The security committee here have agreed with the estate owners that each tenant must have an agreement, even if it is a shanty. Whoever is residing there must have an ID, and this photocopy of this ID must be deposited by the chiefs and assistant chief for verification. We don't want a scenario where somebody leaves by 3 in the morning, come by 11, tomorrow by 3. That way we don't know where he's working, what he's doing. That house is full of people. That one is not going to work here in Suna West. We must ensure the security of our people. More so, I'm in the security committee. It will be very embarrassing for me that I'm talking about security of the country, but for my constituency, things are worse. That is not going to happen. That's not.
Elsewhere, still in Migori County, is that the Migori residents faulted the government over the delayed implementation of the NADCO report. The Migori County residents have expressed their dissatisfaction with the government over the delay in implementing the NADCO report, citing the lack of transparency in the last general election, continued control of the devolved units and of course the functions of the national government, and failure to compensate the post-election violence victims during a public participation forum held in Migori Teachers Training College and of course organized by the NADCO committee.
Kuchache baada ya wakazi wa kaunti ya Migori wakiongozwa na George Akede kuibua wasiwasi kuhusu kuongezeka kwa visa vya utovu wa usalama katika mji wa Migori na kufuatia operesheni ya polisi eneo la Oruba iliyopelekea kurejeshwa kwa mali zilizoibiwa na kukamatwa kwa washukiwa wawili, mbunge wa Suna Mashariki Peter Masara amedhibitisha upya dhamira yake ya kuimarisha usalama katika maeneo hayo. Akizungumza Jumamosi baada ya ibada katika kanisa la SDA Migori West, Masara amekiri kuwepo kwa changamoto za kiusalama katika baadhi ya maeneo ya mji wa Migori na eneo bunge la Suna West, akibainisha kuwa taa za barabarani zisizofanya kazi zimechangia pakubwa kuongezeka kwa uhalifu hasa baada ya saa 3 za usiku.
Requesting the community to at least stop coming out after 9 because these people are usually very, very active after 9. Most of street lights in Migori are not functional. Therefore, it gives an advantage to criminals to terrorize the community.
Mbunge huyo amewapongeza maafisa wa usalama kwa hatua madhubuti ambazo tayari zimechukuliwa, ikiwemo doria za jioni zinazoendeshwa na maafisa wa polisi kwa kushirikiana na vijana wa eneo hilo waliothibitishwa na kufanya kazi chini ya kamati ya usalama.
There is patrol every evening. Both Kenya Police and Administration Police and the youths identified and screened by the security committee. We will help them to patrol the area.
Masara amefichua kuwa mipango inaendelea ya kuwasilisha ombi rasmi kwa katibu mkuu na waziri wa usalama wa ndani ili kutenga angalabu magari mawili ya ziada ya polisi kwa ajili ya kuimarisha doria katika eneo la Suna West, akiongeza kuwa visa vya hivi karibuni vya uhalifu ikiwemo uvamizi wa shule ya msingi ya Oruba Keyo ambako tarakilishi na printer ziliibiwa muda mfupi baada ya doria za polisi vinaashiria uwepo wa mitandao ya kihalifu iliyopangwa, si matukio ya kawaida.
Many boys who are terrorizing people around town are not resident of town. Some have been imported. They have an organized means which these young criminals cannot do. Like today, at 4, the police patrol until 4. Then at 4:30, these people are breaking into Oruba Keyo Primary School and they've stolen printers and computers. That means it's not just ordinary. It is extraordinary.
Ili kudhibiti zaidi hali ya usalama, mbunge huyo ametangaza hatua mpya zinazokubaliwa na kamati ya usalama pamoja na wamiliki wa nyumba. Hatua hizo ni pamoja na usajili wa lazima ya wapangaji wote hata katika makazi yasiyo rasmi, kuwasilishwa kwa nakala za vitambulisho vya kitaifa kwa machifu na manaibu wao kwa ajili ya uhakiki, pamoja na ufuatiliaji wa karibu ili kuzuia kuingia kwa watu wasiojulikana au wa mpito.
The security committee have agreed with the estate owners that each tenant must have an agreement, even if it is a shanty. Whoever is residing there must have an ID, and this photocopy of this ID must be deposited by the chiefs and assistant chief for verification. We don't want a scenario where somebody leaves by 3 in the morning, come by 11, tomorrow by 3. That way we don't know where he's working, what he's doing. That house is full of people. That one is not going to work here in Suna West. We must ensure the security of our people.
Mbunge huyo ambaye anashiriki binafsi katika kamati ya usalama amesema kuwa atashirikiana na wadau wote na kuhakikisha kuwa amani na usalama vinarejea kikamilifu Oruba, mji wa Migori na kaunti ya Migori kwa ujumla.
So I'm in the security committee. It will be very embarrassing for me that I'm talking about security of the country, but for my constituency things are worse. That is not going to happen. That's not going to happen.
Lennox Odede, Migori.
All right, far from now Migori County to other areas in the country. Actually, we get close over to Tanzania, where yesterday the opposition leader Tundu Lissu arrived to appear before the court for the hearing against his Christian churches. The Chadema chairman has been in custody since April 9th last year, 2025, and of course we saw through on social media the pictures and of course the videos while he was arriving at the courts and how his supporters were there welcoming him when he was getting into the court, and of course something that brought a standstill for almost 10 to 20 minutes as he was being arraigned in court. Elsewhere, before we go to other stories, is that the Inspector General of the Police, Douglas Kanja, has gazetted the National Government Administration Police Unit, the NGAPU, to support the local chiefs and of course assistant chiefs to enforce policies and provide security at public functions. The key details about the NGAPU or the NGAPU is that its purpose is it has been created to address the vulnerability of administrators in high-risk areas following the increased threats and attacks. And of course, their operation is focused on improving security conflict resolution and of course peace-building initiatives. And their structure is comprises of the approximately 6,000 officers deployed nationwide. And of course, its leadership, it's headed by the Commandant Charles Mutuma, and with the unit launched under Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen. And of course, the unit will be acting as the bridge, to bridge the gap between the community policing and the state function, the state security functions. And of course, something that we also saw last year, we saw the chiefs and of course the assistant chiefs being taken for a training on issues of administration and leadership. And now it was mentioned then that they will be getting the support of from the national government through the community policing, and of course to ensure that they will be leading in other areas. And now, starting elsewhere, is that the member of Mumias East, Peter Selassie, has revealed that he did not attend the Linda Mwananchi tour in Busia because he believes the faction is supporting President Ruto. From the statement that he gave earlier on, it was seen on social media that he was part of the team, but he came out clearly saying that he didn't attend the Linda Mwananchi tour in Busia. And the reason why he is saying that he believes that the team, that is the Linda Mwananchi initiative that was led by James Orengo, Edwin Sifuna Babu Wino, and Godfrey Ososi, is part of the support of President William Samoei Ruto. Let's have a look on what Peter Selassie, the member of Parliament of Mumias East, what he mentioned yesterday.
Je, wewe ni mmiliki wa aina ya gari aina ya Alto, Probox, Harrier, V8 na Lexus? Jipatie brake pads kwa bei nafuu hivi sasa. Vilevile oil filters kwa gari aina ya Toyota na vilevile Subaru. Ili upokee popote ulipo, piga simu kupitia nambari 0739318606. Mteja mpendwa, ni wakati sasa wa kujinyakulia aina ya flash disk kuanzia 8GB, 16GB na vilevile 32GB. Vilevile earphones, wireless headsets, unajipatia wireless microphones tofauti kwa bei nafuu. Yale ambayo unafaa kuyafanya hivi sasa ni kwamba unapiga simu kupitia nambari 0739 318606. Yote unayapata kwa bei nafuu popote ulipo.
Inside each one of us, there is a dream. The challenge is how to achieve it. This journey will take inspiration, constant motivation, proper supervision, and strong connections. At Camel Park Training College, we know what makes your dreams come true. Now, all we need to begin in this journey is you. Enroll today in a variety of courses. Choose Camel Park Training College.
Yo, this is the sharp boy, the Salasia, MP Mumias constituency, and the face of the Kenya, not in one term, not in two term, but for Kenyans, the whistleblower, the person who speaks the truth, and who knows what is happening. Now, many people have been asking me, why did I not going to join the bandwagon of Busia? Busia. I want to tell them this, that all these two factions, they are playing for one person, that is William Ruto. They eat all these two bandwagons. So what is happening, and this is what Kenyans ought to understand. First of all, let me ask, the ODM did the changes. ODM did the changes and installed Oburu as the party leader, Osote remained as the deputy party leader, among others. And then Sifuna remained as the SG of the party. So what does that tell you? It tells you that these people have got the powers to remove whoever they want because they are in the system. Now, let us start with the issue of Kenya Moja. When the Kenya Moja movement started, there were genuine people like Namisi, Caleb, who really went for the change for the people. But the rest were there. I don't want to mention. So Kina Sifuna were giving 1 million, 2 million in those events that they were going. You ask yourself, where was that money getting, where were they getting that money? The source of that money, where was that source of money? Then you see these people going on TV, they have been told, go, Sema Kasongo. But these people, they report to that person, mwenye wanaita Kasongo huyu. So in that bandwagon, in net, imekuja kushika wale watu ambao wako genuine for the Kenyans, like maybe they were thinking kina Peter Salasia can go there, kina Hamisi Caleb wako huko, Onyonka wako huko, Kibagendi wako huko, watashikiwa huko hiyo net. Lakini hiyo net mimi hawezi shika mimi, kwa sababu I know that bandwagon itaenda kufinanziwa, so it's being financed by some corner. So itafika mahali wakishazunguka, utaona again, they want to keep Kenyans busy. Itafika mahali alafu wanaweka wanachoma sindano kwa hiyo balloon na wama finance inakatika. Tena wanarudi, wanakaa after 3 months, tena regroup together, and again wana confuse wa Kenya. In that team, if you want to know, any successful team, there must be a team leader. Kama yangu yenye natembea Kenya yote mzima, I'm the team leader. So watuambie, kwa hiyo timu yao, kuna Orengo, kuna Babu, kuna Sifuna, kuna Osoti ndio deputy party leader, alikuwa anafuata kwa kwa Raila I think. Alafu nani Orengo governor, watuambie kwa hiyo team ni nani team leader. All they are equals. You cannot go together as condo. There must be a team leader. You see? So all these people, they are going nowhere. So I want to tell Kenyans that for those who are not satisfied with the leadership ambayo iko sahi, please watch those people in the peripheries. Hiyo ni net ya kuja kwa confuse nyinyi. In the next 3 months it will collapse tena. Then they come up with another thing. Mimi naona for the Kenyans, and I don't like confusion. It is either you are in or you are outside. That is it. Mambo mingi ya kisungu kuambiwa sijui nini, mwachane na hiyo maneno. Watafika mahali wanaambiwa soma, hii ndio resolution ya ODM. Soma, wewe ndio SG. Alafu utaona wanakuja huko kama mimi kama So Kenyans, please stay firm. Stay mjue antenna, raise the antenna. Yeah, thank you.
All right, as we keep on, is that also some statements were made yesterday by the Treasury Cabinet Secretary, John Mbadi, that launched the scratching attack of the ODM Secretary General, Edwin Sifuna, declaring that this time in the party is over, and since he is conflicted. Actually, he was seen to be somebody mwenye alikuwa na makasiriko sana. Hebu tusikie what he mentioned and what he said, as he termed is that his time in the party is done. That is Edwin Sifuna, Secretary General of the ODM party.
Someone like Sifuna will not remain in ODM because already is conflicted. He is now selling the agenda of someone else. Why are you pretending? You cannot keep him in the party. He is gone. Allow him to go. When I was chairman of the party, and Ababu Namwamba wanted to behave like he's behaving, I made sure he left. I convened disciplinary committee against him as the SG. And by the way, let nobody cheat you. At the SG is keeping documents of the party. That one we changed a long time ago. We created trustees. We sat down. Sifuna does not even know where the registration certificate of ODM is. He does not know. If he has seen him, let him take a photo of that certificate and put on WhatsApp. He can live with the people he will live with. But the party will remain cohesive. We need a cohesive outfit. Not a party where the party leader says this, then another official says the other. Today they are in Busia, selling an agenda we don't know. They are saying Raila did not leave us in Broadway. Who took Mbadi to Broadway to government? Did they question him? And he died when we were in government. And he said that 2027, up to 2027, after 2027, hata bado tutaendelea kufanya kazi. That was Raila Odinga. But even if he did not say that, where do you want us to go? Let us assume Raila did not say that. Where do you want us to go? Do you want us to join Gachagua? Or do you want us to go with Matiang'i? Or do you want us to go with Kalonzo? As we will work with Ruto to 2027 and beyond. And 2032, some of us are ready to take over as the president of this country. We are ready. We are ready. If we are not ready, kaa kando. Sisi tuko tayari. Kama unataka kusimama 2027, sema. Mimi sitaki kusimama president 2027. But 2032, I am ready.
All right, sides from John Mbadi and of course the response to Edwin Sifuna, who led another brigade who led the Linda Mwananchi tour to Busia. Now let's see what the president mentioned yesterday concerning the global efforts to stop war in Sudan. And of course, the president said that what's going on in Sudan is completely inhuman. I remember the President William Samoei Ruto is the chair of the East African Community, and he oversees some of the roles as the chair to ensure that the East African community is living in peace. And of course, in Sudan, we have been seeing fights against their own, actually the fights between the leadership and of course the communities that are on there. And let's have a listen to what the president mentioned yesterday during a meeting that he had with the other dignitaries from the country and of course outside the country.
In Sudan, Kenya remains deeply concerned by the ongoing conflict and its grave humanitarian consequences. There cannot be any military solution, in my very honest opinion, to that conflict. An inclusive process, a civilian-led intervention that brings parties on board, in my opinion, is the only viable path forward. I have had a candid conversation with friends across the continent, with friends across the globe. I have brought up this issue with President Trump. I have brought up this issue with President Macron. I have brought up this issue with the new Chancellor of Germany. My minister here has been to the UK. We have had many engagements. It is still my and Kenya's concern that the situation in Sudan is grave. It is very serious. And global attention must be focused in Sudan, because what is going on in Sudan is completely inhuman. And the international community must do whatever it takes to make sure that we take charge of that situation. Kenya, we will play our role. We have offered a place for dialogue here in Nairobi. We have offered corridors of humanitarian support where it is needed. We have serviced Sudan in the past from Lokichogio Airport here in Turkana. I have made all that available to the international community, and we will play our part in making sure that we deal with the situation in Sudan.
Away from the security matters that the president asked, of course, the international bodies and, of course, to stop whatever is happening in Sudan, let's get back to the country again, where the story that was published on the daily newspapers today, and of course talking about the governors defying to appear before the CPA, that is the County Public Allocation Committee. Of course, a committee in the Senate to explain how they have used their funds that they were allocated. And here, Governor Muthomi Njuki says or mentioned yesterday that 4 senators are behind the extortion, as the Council of Governors vow not to appear before the Senate Public Accounts Committee. And let's hear what Muthomi Njuki mentioned yesterday and why do they not want to appear before the Senate Public Accounts Committee, and who are these senators that are being mentioned to be the one extorting the governors. Let's hear what Muthomi Njuki said.
We are very specific that Council of Governors has no issue with the Senate. We even have no issue with all the Senate committees. We have a problem not just with the CPAC committee. We have a problem with 4 senators. They know themselves in the committee of CPAC of the Senate. Those 4 senators know themselves. And we are saying they are involved in extortionists, being extortionists. They harass governors, they intimidate them, they even use political maneuvers of keeping governors there the whole day, waiting to be seen without even communicating to them, hoping that the governors will be able to give in to their whims. And we are saying Senate is a house of noble men and women. There are other senators who can serve in that committee and will not appear in that CPI committee if and until when those senators and the leadership is changed, because they're the ones who are spoiling and they are making the Senate appear as if it is a place the serious business is not done, but instead we have political maneuver.
All right, so we have heard the statements that he has mentioned, of course, saying that some of the senators are there to extort the governors, and of course they don't want to hear what they say, but already they have their own thinking and of course the way they want to do their things. And not forgetting what is happening in the ODM party. Of course, the senator, Moses Kajwang, shows his weight behind the claims of disunity in the party. That is in the ODM party following the death of Raila Amolo Odinga that happened last year. And let's hear first what he mentioned yesterday concerning the lifts that are being felt in the ODM party. That is the disunity between the ODM members, actually the ODM party members, that some of them, they have said they are Linda Ground Initiative, that is tour, and of course Linda Mwananchi tour. We saw, or what we have seen, what is happening in the ODM. Like on Sunday, one team was in Busia, which was rallying against the ODM leaders. That is the ODM leader, that leadership that is known, Maso, the party leader, and the other leaders in there. And there is another team led by Oburu Odinga, that is the party leader, the current party leader, that they are singing the song of the broad-based government. And of course, that is the initiative of re-election and of course, working together with the Kenya Kwanza government, Mwaso President William Samoei Ruto. First of all, let's hear what Moses Kajwang mentioned about the lifts in the ODM disunity.
ODM as a movement has existed because it gives hope to the people that we can acquire power and use that power to change the lives of the people. I believe that's where our focus should remain. Okay. This parliament, this presidency, just before Raila died, it was ODM that was holding parliament. In fact, before Raila died, Raila angepinduka tu kidogo, alafu impeachment iletwe on William Ruto. It would have gone the same way the one on Gachagua went. So ODM has got this huge stabilizing influence on government. But since the demise of Raila, we seem to be suffering from low self-esteem. Now we are small. There's a time we used to say that if William Ruto wants our support, akuja vae orange. But now, you can't even imagine that. If you saw the kind of jamboree he was doing yesterday at State House, if you see the number of people he's recruited as aspirants across the country, we are saying we want some zones to be ring-fenced. But everything that the president is doing indicates that he's going for nothing less than 100% domination by the UDA party. So I think we need to smell the coffee. The elections are still 1 year and several months away. There is still enough time for us to reorganize ourselves, work on our self-esteem as a party. We are a strong party, but since Raila left, our self-esteem has sunk. We have become simps. We are simping, running around, running after the president, going into presidential events, not organizing our own things, getting money from the president to do our own activities. And you know, we are going into the Valentine's week. Simps don't do well on Valentine's week.
Okay, lastly, one term, two term, which part are you on? Which side?
I think personally, I am yet to join any of those bandwagons of one term or two term. When Raila was alive, I was very, very clear in my mind.
One term.
All right, as we move on, before we get back to Migori Count, of course, the report of concerning the NADCO report, as our reporter Odede Lennox will be giving us more details on it. But going through some of the comments referring to the ODM RDC unity, I can be able to see, maybe I have sampled 1, 2, 3 comments that I can be able to go through here. I can be able to see Mark Calvins anasema one-term movement is unstoppable. Then Eric Odhiambo referring to what Senator Kajwang said, very professional. There is another one here saying that Don Dalons is saying that it was Raila Amolo Odinga, not ODM, and ODM will be nothing without Raila. So stop deceiving yourselves. And here there is another one called Kach Inyar Jem saying that good, usibebe wakili kama wengine wanachiita party leaders. And then Olindo Buvalo Jr. saying that sisi tuko tuko Imara Training College and organized by the NADCO committee as Lennox Odede now reports.
Speaking during a public participation forum organized by the NADCO committee at Migori Teachers Training College and led by co-chair Agnes Zani, Migori County residents led by Tagare Ward MCA Moses Magwe, who was elected on a Jubilee Party ticket, criticized the government for failing to open election servers to allow Kenyans to know the true outcome of the last general election, which he claimed was rigged.
Tulikuwa tunataka mkuje mtuambie ya kwamba tangu NADCO report iliposainiwa imekuwa kwa implementation process for almost 1.5 years sasa. Mumefika wapi? Serikali imefika wapi kuimplement hii report? Kwa sababu hawa wananchi ambao sisi tumekuja hapa, ni kweli ya kwamba sio sisi tunafanya implementation. Kazi ya implementation ilikuwa ifanywe na serikali. Serikali ndiyo inafanya implementation. And therefore, sisi kama wananchi, kitu tunataka kusikia ile maneno tulisema ya kwamba 2022 election ifanywe audit. Mimi nilikuwa na expect mniambie leo IBC imefanya audit na imepata ya kwamba ni ukweli walituibia kura. Sisi ndiye tulishinda watu Azimio.
Magwe also criticized the national government for continuing to hold devolved functions more than 15 years after the promulgation of the 2010 constitution.
Unajua mpaka leo we have been devolution for over 15 years now. Lakini ninashangaa ya kwamba functions za devolution bado zinafanywa na rais huko juu. Nilikuwa ninaomba leo mungetuambia zile functions za devolution zote sasa zimekuwa devolved, zimerudi kwa county. But you will find bado hizo function bado ziko huko juu.
Meanwhile, Central Kanyamkago MCA Eunice Odi questioned how soon the NADCO report would be released and implemented, citing the short timeline as the next general election approaches. She also raised concern over post-election violence victims who are yet to be compensated by the government.
Saizi mmebeba makaratasi yote mnarudi nayo. Mtuambie hapa, we are getting the responses after how long? Because from the time hata hii vitu ya NADCO walikaa chini, it is in 2024. We are now in 2026. Election is just next year. When are you going to implement these things so that hata kama ni compensation, how soon is it going to be implemented? Alafu, we have talked about clearly on implementation or on compensation of the people that lost their properties and their lives during the protests. What criteria are you going to use to ensure that mtu mwenye aliumia Nyatike Wuthugik is going to be compensated, si mtoto wa mheshimiwa Eunice ambaye anajulikana na serikali?
James Ochieng Nyabiondo, who represents persons living with disabilities, criticized the government for sidelining youth, women and other vulnerable groups in the awarding of tenders. He called on the government to treat all Kenyans equally.
Kitu cha kwanza ambayo inaniudhi hii mambo ya percentage ambayo inapewanwa kwa county. Hakuna mtu yoyote youth, disability and women ambao anapata. Ni bwenyenye tu wale ambao wako na pesa ndio wanaenda wananunua contract. Hakuna mtu wa youth, disability and women ambao anapeana pesa. Tunataka serikali kama wanataka watu wawe kwa usawa, walinde watu wote sawa, sio kubagua wengine. Eti wale wakubwa ndio wanapata hela. Hii kama inaweza kuwa implemented vile tuliongea,
tunataki iwe hivyo vile kufuta hata kitu kimoja kwa yale ambao watu walisema kwa hall.
Addressing the forum, NADCO committee co-chair Agnes Zani assured Kenyans that the report will be made public by March 7th to allow sufficient time for its implementation.
Because we are dealing with bureaucrats, we are very clear about the measurabilities that we want. Tumeuliza specific questions and we want specific answers. We're to compile this report, and by the 7th of March, we'll be presenting this report. It will be a public report to capture and ensure the gaps that are there in the implementation of the NADCO report have been dealt with.
Lennox Odede, Migori County.
All right, that is from Migori County, of course, referring to the NADCO report. The report the story we brought you, it has some mixtures earlier on, but we have rectified that. Now, talking about what the governors have mentioned about the senators extorting them during and humiliating them during the appearance on the committee, that is the Senate Committee on County Public Accounts and Investment, that is the CPAC. And of course, they are being chaired by Senator Moses Kajwang of Homa Bay. And of course, the vice chair is Senator Johannes Mwaruma from Taita Taveta. And of course, we have other senators like Fatuma Adandulo, Samson Chirarkei. We have Eric Okongo Mogeni of Nyamira County. We have Stephen Rutembezi Legere of Samburu. Mwenda Gataya, known as Mofire. And of course, Edwin Watenya Sifuna of Nairobi County. But as we move on, there are some of the comments that I've sampled out concerning the sentiments made by the Rakanidi governor, that is Muthoni Njuki. And here some of the comments that I've sampled out, and then they say that avoiding Senate proceedings, that amount to avoiding the court proceedings upon invitation. And if you know any of the senator asking for money, please let us know in advance, unless you are playing victim syndrome. This is Omino Joy saying that. And of course, Dismas Omogeni is saying that they will create a constitutional crisis, and I'm very sure someone is behind them supporting their move. The court will deliberate on these matters. Then William Kiproper and Koru saying that you should appear before them. Kenya is a country governed by law. And then Dennis Wamwanyi is saying that another plot by the State House to silence the critics. And of course, some of the comments here and there, I can be able to see Meshak Ombongi saying that Mwingine alituma 55 million kwa maize seedlings along the river banks of Mandera. Instead, Vitaris anasema kwamba acha uoga bwana, face the panel and explain yourself. All they are asking for is accountability. Na kama hujafanya kosa, they can't grill you. Pale anamaliza akisema kwamba nonsense governance. Anyway, those are the sentiments from Ines Vitaris. And elsewhere, I can be able to see David Omoke saying that just name them and report it to ASCC if you are serious on what you are mentioning. And Dave Maritas Bob saying that let's see what happens, sir. The daggers are well drawn. And of course, the comment from referring to some of the sentiments that have been given out. And let me also have a look at the quick one here. Concerning the response of CS John Mbadi concerning the Secretary General of ODM Edwin Sifuna. Here, there's a lot of comments that have been given out concerning the same, but I will just sample a little of them and then just read. And of course, Mbadi is talking on his behalf and his family, not as the Luo community. Sisi as the Luo community, si watu wa kuuzwa kama mbuzi. That is Edwin Ongando. Kiprono Kituru anasema kwamba Mbadi should not stay as a CS as well. He is conflicted. Ogero Valentine saying that ni minister UP anaongea sana kama mwenye analia. Ongea pole pole. And then political penciling saying that Mbadi anategea matanga ndio atoe vitisho baridi. kama yeye ni mwanasiasa mahiri, aitishe rally kama ile ya Busia na anze kuzungumza huko, tuone kama atatoka huko akiwa ashamaliza mazungumzo yake pale. That is the political pencillian pale. Pale naona Albanas Mutinda saying this, that if Gachagua has a million voters, then I'm one of them. If Gachagua has 5 votes, then I'm one of them. If Gachagua has 1 vote, then I'm that 1 vote. If Gachagua has no vote, that means I am dead. If the world is against him and the entire brigade, and of course the team from ODM, the faction that is the Linda Mwananchi tour, then we have to be the same, and of course seeing the same, and ensure that we are helping our country. And elsewhere anasema kwamba CS fanya kazi. Edwin Sifuna amewatingiza hadi cabinet, na mbona anapiga kelele hapo. Some of the comments, and of course Meshaki Cheruiyot saying that the president speaking for 2032, we will call him President Mbadi, save this. And of course Elijah Kengura saying that who moved my G's? That is what is some of the comments that I'm seeing here on social media. Of course, it is 15 minutes past 9 a.m. here at East African time, and of course Morning Buzz is on, and of course coming to an end in our view. Just having to look at some of the charts here of some of the comments that you have sent. I can be able to see Blackman TV 254 following Pale YouTube. Thank you so much for following, and of course we are going to take into consideration what you have mentioned there, and thank you for watching. Elsewhere I can be able to see anajulikana kama huyu anajulikana kama nani, as I look at the comments. Anaitwa Dadie Piso, nice one, thank you for following. Christopher Atandi anasema kwamba watching from Borangi Kenyambi with the wife Lilian, with the wife Lilian Kerubo, Lydia Kerubo samahani, the daughters and sons, and of course the parents there. Anasema kwamba anafuatilia moja kwa moja. And that is it from the comment section, and of course the SMS section here at Ndizi TV Africa. And I'll be getting it and at that point. And of course, before I do that, let's just look at a quick check on what happened on the APL. As much as we know, the games were played, of course, since Sunday. And of course, from Sunday onwards is that from the EPL that let's start from Sunday. Saturday, and of course Saturday we had Fulham versus Everton. Of course Everton won 2-1. Burnley West Ham won 2-0. Wolves versus Chelsea won 3-1. And of course Arsenal won 3-0 versus that is Arsenal versus Sunderland. We had Bournemouth versus Aston Villa that it ended up as a draw. Of course Newcastle versus Brentford, that was a 3-2 win. That is Brentford won 3 and Newcastle 2. And of course Sunday, Brighton versus Crystal Palace. Of course Crystal Palace won 1-0. And Liverpool versus Manchester City, where Manchester City won, Liverpool lost, and of course got a red card. And what we are expecting today, that is a match, the match day of 26 out of the 38 games that are supposed to be played here, is that today Tottenham will be meeting Newcastle as from 10:30 p.m. Chelsea will be meeting with the Leeds United today as from 10:30 p.m. Everton versus Bournemouth today the same time. West Ham versus Manchester United today as from 11:15 p.m. And of course what we're expecting tomorrow, Wolves versus Nottingham Forest, Aston Villa versus Brighton, Crystal Palace versus Burnley, Manchester City versus Fulham, and of course Sunderland versus Liverpool, and Brentford versus Arsenal. That is the games that will be played today up to Thursday. And as we wait and see what is going on and what will be happening here and there, and that is where I crown it up. And of course, it has been an amazing morning here at Ndizi TV Africa, and thank you for watching us since we started from the morning paper review and of course the trending stories. I've been your host, Jeff Nyakundi, and my director has been Lucas Ouma. I say thank you for watching, and of course continue following us on our social media platforms, and be having a good day in office, and of course as you do your works today, of course bye bye and have a productive day. My name is Jeff Nyakundi. My director has been Lucas Ouma. See you tomorrow same time here at Ndizi TV Africa. Don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms. Bye bye and have a fruitful day.